welcome to Vaccinate Lompoc. Family is essential. We're so delighted to have you here tonight. So thank you again for joining us. Let's go ahead and start our program. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. And what a lovely evening it is. Thank you all so much for being here today. As we know, COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines are of critical importance. Your attendance here or watching this video means a lot for yourself. It means a lot for your community and also a lot for your family. My name is Ashley Costa, and I am tonight's host. I would like to welcome you here this evening. I was born and raised here in Lompoc for the last 34 years, and I now serve as the executive director of a local nonprofit, the Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization, also known as the LVCHO. We also lead the Healthy Lompoc Coalition. Working in community health is why I decided to get my vaccine. And tonight, we hope that you too may find your reason to consider getting vaccinated. I've already mentioned that the topic of this webinar is of critical importance to the community. Tonight, we'll hear stories from our community members about their decisions to get the vaccine. We'll hear the latest information on the vaccine from the medical experts. Our experts will also answer questions from the community gathered through the Zoom registration and from the city's Saturday outdoor community market. Experts will be answering as many questions as we have in our time tonight. If you have questions during tonight's program, please write them in the Q&A, and we'll get answers to as many as possible in the next week or two following tonight's program. These answers will also be posted at lompocvmc.com/forum. Again, that's www.lompocvmc.com/forum. I believe someone posted the link in the chat in case you would like to refer to that link. I would now like to introduce my colleague and friend, Dr. Donna Renoso. Dr. Donna Renoso is the Public Health Director for Santa Barbara County. She has extensive experience in public health and healthcare. Vaughn has worked at the leadership level in private, public, and nonprofit settings in California, including a 5-year stint at an orphanage in Mexico. Take it away.
Great. Good evening, and thank you, Ashley, for the wonderful introduction. I'm happy to join you and my panelists this evening, and I'd like to start by just giving our audience a glimpse of the COVID-19 case rates, and then talk a little bit about our vaccination efforts. So the good news is that the 7-day rolling sum of new cases by area throughout our county has decreased. So we are seeing a continued downward trend across our county, except for a few very selected space or community. So that's the good news. We are seeing a decrease in case rates. So wonderful news, and appreciating everyone for doing their part in decreasing the COVID-19 in our community. This week, CDPH, the California Department of Public Health, has assigned us our first week in the yellow tier, and we anticipate with the decreasing cases, if this continues until next Tuesday, we will certainly earn our second week in the yellow tier, meaning that businesses can open up in a greater capacity, at least for another week, until the governor releases all businesses to be fully opened on June 15th. With regards to our vaccination rates, as of today, our current rate is when we look at all of the eligible Santa Barbara County individuals age 12 and older, we are seeing a 64% vaccinated. And if we look at the same population, again, all of the eligible Santa Barbara County residents, 52% of that are fully vaccinated. And so those are really wonderful milestones to achieve. We have yet achieve our 80%. We are aiming, that is our golden standard. That's our measure for our county. With regards to vaccination rates, we are seeing, unfortunately, a difference in the regions in our own county. So when we look at our county and separate that, the county by North County versus Central County versus South County, we're seeing that 36% of our North County population as fully vaccinated. And we are seeing a roughly, again, a 36% of Central is fully vaccinated and a 53% of South is fully vaccinated. So we have a lot more work to do, especially in our Lompoc area. I'm excited to share with you that we continue to make strides in offering vaccinations to our community in a variety of different ways. I think the most successful of late is our mobile vaccination program. We have been sending teams into workplaces, into communities, at flea markets, swap meets, churches, at community-based organizations. We also are visiting homebound individuals, just really wanting to make sure that all barriers are removed and that anyone who is ready to be vaccinated, who's made that decision to be vaccinated, will have the opportunity. In this phase of getting everyone vaccinated, it is really about making it easy, making it convenient, and making it comfortable. Our bottom line is that we would like to make sure that everyone in our community can get access to the vaccine. And I'd like to end with touching base on the incentive program that you may have heard about, and it's through our state, California Department of Public Health, Vax for the Win. So California is putting forth $116.5 million in the vaccine incentive program. It is the biggest in the nation, and it is the goal is to boost vaccinations and help safely reopen our economy on June 15th. And so there will be $15 million grand cash prizes for 10 winners on June 15th. There will be 30 winners for $50,000 on Friday the 4th and Friday the 11th. And also, if you have not been vaccinated and will be starting your vaccination, then there is a $50 cash incentive card to grocery stores for the next 2 million vaccinated Californians. And then those individuals will also be eligible for the Friday $50,000 drawing and the $1.5 million grand cash prize lottery on June 15th. So we are doing everything possible locally in our county with our community partners, and the state is assisting us as well. And so the Public Health Department is here to do whatever our community needs us to do in order for us to achieve that 80% vaccination rate. So that ends my presentation tonight.
Thank you so much, Dr. Donna Renoso, for that presentation. And a special thanks because I believe you may be on vacation and you took this video chat for us and this webinar, and we are so thankful for your time and for your leadership. It's been a long year for you. So again, major thanks to you and your team at Public Health. Before we move on to hearing from the panel, let's hear from two community members who share their stories on why they decided to get the vaccine. Please play the videos.
Hi, my name is Lillian Street. I work for the county here in Lompoc. I'm at the Public Defender's Office and I do investigations. I had some reservations about getting the vaccine at first. I was a little concerned that there wasn't enough testing. I was concerned that because of my race, there wasn't testing specifically for people of color. And just in general, it seemed like it came out really fast. Then I thought about the fact that they redo a flu vaccine every year, and I get that, so I felt a little bit better about it. And ultimately, I'm happy that I got the vaccine because now I don't have that fear of catching COVID, and I can go confidently to places and not worry about bringing anything home to my son. And I can take him places, and we can just enjoy ourselves. So it's nice. Get the vaccine.
Hi, my name is Carson Link. I'm a lifelong resident of Lompoc. And like everyone else, I was obviously a little hesitant to get the vaccine. It was developed very quickly. This is a virus that we haven't seen before. And so I was obviously a little hesitant, but it's essential to get it, to getting back to where we were. And that's more than anything what I would like to have happen. So, you know, I'm happy I got it. They're going to be lifting mask mandates soon. We're here right now doing, some outreach, giving out the vaccine to those who need it most, the homeless. So, you know, we're here. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks, almost every week, out here in different places in Lompoc, giving the vaccine out to those who need it most. So it's important.
I want to introduce our panelists who both treat patients locally in Lompoc and who are going to answer questions from the community this evening. Our first panelist is Dr. Noristani. Dr. Noristani attended California State University, Northridge, where he obtained his Bachelor's of Arts degree in 2005. He graduated from Ross University School of Medicine and completed his residency in internal medicine at Atlantic City Regional Medical Center in New Jersey, where he served as chief medical resident. Dr. Noristani is a board-certified internist and fellow of internal medicine. He is currently medical director of the hospitalist program at the Lompoc Valley Medical Center. His years of experience in research has helped him guide thousands of patients to a healthier life. And our second panelist is Dr. Andrew Firking. Dr. Firking is a family medicine specialist in Lompoc. He was born in Chicago and grew up in Ohio. He completed his undergraduate education at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. That was in 2007. Dr. Firking attended medical school at Kansas City University of Medicine and Bioscience College of Osteopathic Medicine in Kansas City, Missouri, where he received his doctorate of medicine in 2014. He completed residency in family medicine at Harbor UCLA Medical Center until 2017, when he joined the Lompoc Healthcare Center team with a desire to serve the patient population and appreciation for the Lompoc Valley community and all that it offers. So thank you both for being here. We're now going to sort of dive right in. The first topic on everyone's mind, which came out loud and clear based on those questions from the registration for this event, is the topic of safety. So Dr. Noristani, we've had a lot of questions about safety. Some of the questions were around how quickly these vaccines were developed. They're so new. So how do we know that they're safe? For example, J&J was stopped because of causing blood clots, and now it's restarted. Is it safe? And maybe there's one that's the safest or most effective.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to serve the community, and it's important for people to ask as many questions as possible. Having knowledge and making an informed decision is extremely important. With that said, the questions are very valid. This vaccine was developed in an extremely rapid fashion. But let me put it in perspective. It took 197 years to develop and identify measles vaccine. Another 158 years to isolate mumps. It took 2 weeks to actually sequence COVID. So what it tells us that because of the advances in technology, we have eliminated 90% of obstacles that we used to face in order to identify these viruses. So we used to try everything possible to see what works, what doesn't work. And 90% of those attempts were failed attempts. With this technology, it tells us exactly what the virus looks like. What does it respond to? How do I choose which part of it the body is going to react to? and we'll build the protein from that so the body could respond to it fast. Also, these trials that are done, the trials were done in according to FDA guidance. Usually the clinical trial has 4 different phases: a preclinical phase, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And each one of them on a normal circumstances requires significant amount of time. And part of it is financially driven, and part of it is technology driven. Since we have bridged the gap with technology, we had availability of unlimited funding that all the governments around the world throw at these big companies, saying, don't worry about the money. You don't have to raise the money for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. If it's working, go ahead and go through different phases. So that was a very short period of time. Now, they have done hundreds of trials on that. This is the largest trials in the world in the history of vaccine, and how many people they have enrolled and followed. Now, granted, the one thing that, everybody's cautious, we don't know how long it's gonna last, the protection, and what are the long-term side effects. And the long-term side effect is the same with every vaccine that comes in. And when they start, because there's no data 10 years from now or 8 years from now. Now, granted with COVID, of course, we don't know what kind of side effects we're gonna face down the road. But immediately, in the last few months, the side effects are, rare. You mentioned Johnson & Johnson. There were 6 cases in the United States and they affected women that had clotting disorders due to COVID. And they're still investigating of why and how that happens. That is 7 in 1 million people that got vaccinated. So the chances are so extremely low. And that's also between age of 18 to 45 and when women only. So if you take that, it's an extremely rare side effect. Yes, it is unfortunate, but in the big scheme of things, it is rare. Now, common side effect, as you mentioned, joint pain, muscles and aches and fever and chills, those are expected with all the vaccines. And now some of the vaccines have a little more of these temporary side effects that could be resolved. So, did they do the preclinical trial? The answer is yes. Did they do phase 1? Yes. Did they do phase 2? Yes. Did they do phase 3? And did they wait? If they waited 6 months, which they do for every vaccine in the past, 100 years, they have just a specific fixed amount of time. Actually, they waited that long and actually longer to approve this vaccine based on the safety data that I have collected from around the world. So I feel safe to take this vaccine. I have no doubt about safety of it. Now, the only thing I'm concerned, obviously long-term effect, but I want you to think about something. So I've been in Lompoc for, when the pandemic hit, I have lost a lot of people. This is one of the diseases that scared me so much. It's a nightmare of a disease. It doesn't have just a short-term effect, but there's so much consequence of long-term effect, even if you get it and you're asymptomatic. Well, we'll talk about it. So yes, I feel pretty safe as a physician. I recommend it to my family and everybody that I know without any hesitation.
So we do have a follow-up question, and then I'm going to pass over to Dr. Furking in a moment. So Dr. Nurstani, one quick follow-up question. And you talked about it a little bit. If I have underlying pre-existing health conditions, how do I know that the vaccine won't impact me?
So once again, it goes back to this vaccine hasn't been completed, all the trials with different disease process and how people respond to it. So there's not good answers for if I have a specific disease process and how it impacts you. We don't know. Right now, there's over 1,000 different trials that goes on around the world, trying to test different things with different patients and see if there's any side effects, severe side effect. For example, people with autoimmune disorder, because you're activating the immune, they might feel some more side effect than normal people. But then you just look at it. Are there a lot of deaths and a lot of side effects? And the answer is no. Are you going to get some side effect? The answer is absolutely yes. So to fully answer you, we don't know yet because we haven't trialed it in a specific patient population.
But in the meantime, do you think having someone perhaps ask their personal physician or their specialist might be a good next step?
Of course, of course. And I think the only reason somebody shouldn't be getting if they have extreme severe allergic reaction to prior vaccination, and that's something they have to discuss it with their primary care physician or immunologist to see what the alternative routes are and what they could do, maybe pre-medicate before getting the vaccinations.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I want to definitely highlight that last piece that you're basically saying. It sounds like across the board, we want to get folks vaccinated unless they've had a severe reaction in the past. So that's really helpful. Thank you. Dr. Furking, I'm going to pass it over to you. We did have a lot of questions come in about youth and the vaccine. It sounds like children 12 and up can now get the Pfizer vaccine. Do you know, or maybe you have experience with patients, how to sign up their children, or where in Lompoc have you seen kids getting vaccinated?
Sure. Thanks again for having me, and thanks to Dr. Norstani too for a really great explanation there. So I'm a family medicine doctor. My focus is always on obviously family medicine. We obviously have seen an increase in youth getting vaccinated and youth wanting to get vaccinated. Typically, what we do tell folks is to again have that conversation with their primary pediatrician, their primary care physician, and talking about the risks and benefits of doing it. I mean, obviously, we know there's still a lot of questions out there. I do know that we vaccinated at our clinic here at the public health department. So we have been vaccinating there. Certainly the hospital is a great resource here in Lompoc as well. And then Santa Barbara County Public Health website can direct you as well on where to find vaccine locations for adolescents and teens, as well as obviously adults. So.
Great. So I think there's been a little bit of research about maybe some side effects of the Pfizer vaccine. And I think one of the questions we received is that their son has an irregular heartbeat. Will the vaccine affect this?
Right, it's a good question. So again, kind of what Dr. Norstani was talking about was, there are ongoing studies as to, vaccine safety, vaccine side effects. One of the more recent concerns among some parents has been potential for heart complications with some vaccinations. So the CDC has been looking into that currently. Again, it's been exceedingly rare that this has been popping up and only recently. So it's still a matter of some ongoing research. I can tell you that, we do recommend the vaccine for adolescents, especially the Pfizer vaccine in this regard would still be recommended if that's the one they were choosing, to vaccinate their adolescent with right now. And so, overall, it would still be recommended. We know it's a safe and effective vaccine, and similar side effects could be expected in youth as would be seen in adults. So I would still recommend it to children. If there is a concern about, some type of heart complications, certainly discuss it with your specialist or your primary care pediatrician or family doctor. So, but overall, the other thing to consider is there also are cardiac complications from having COVID infections. So that's something to really consider the risks and benefits there. We know that there have been documented cases of cardiac complications from COVID infections, and it's weighing that risk of benefit in regard to parental concerns. However, ongoing studies like Dr. Norstani was talking about have shown these vaccines are very safe and effective with, generally minimal side effects, arm soreness, feeling kind of run down, flu-like for a day or so typically. And so that's what I typically would tell anybody that has that question. Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that framing, understanding the cost and benefit. And you're exactly, that makes a lot of sense to consider the impact of COVID potentially being a much higher risk, right? So that's great. And I know that you have a little one, you have a little child yourself. And although probably not quite there yet, we were hoping you could help us think through how someone might convince their teenager that the vaccine is safe and help them understand that the side effects are worth the protection of the vaccine. And you kind of talked a little bit about that already, but maybe what are some of the ways that you're seeing in your patients and in your community? What are some of those good arguments? to get folks vaccinated?
So when I talk to patients about about reasons to get vaccinated, obviously, I talk to them about the risks and benefits to their health specifically. Again, we know that there are many complications from COVID infections. It's a very serious illness, and on a daily basis, as a family medicine doctor, I've been dealing with complications in patients for this since the onset of the pandemic. The other kind of route that I will take with patients sometimes is, relating with them that the pandemic's been hard on everybody, right? People haven't been able to see family and friends and be a part of the community. So we do know that according to CDC guidance that, things are a little bit more open for you if you're vaccinated, right? You're able to potentially travel a little bit more, to see folks a little bit more than you would be able to. So I do kind of try to relate to folks and remind them that there is a little bit more opening up and a little bit more that you're able to do without having that fear in the back of your mind. What's my risk? Am I going to be infected today? Is today the day where I get COVID? The first time or the second time even. So I do try to encourage them to think about that as well. If they're really struggling with, more than a year of this pandemic and trying to get back to some sort of normalcy, this is a great avenue to do that in some respects. Again, following the CDC guidance that's out there, it can offer them a little bit more return to normalcy as they would see it. So I typically take that route, and especially that's more of the route that certainly can help to convince a teenager. My daughter's not there yet. I apologize if you hear in the background, but she's 4. I feel like she's maybe going on 14. I don't know, but yeah, that definitely is the route that I would say for to target youth a little bit more and convince your teenager.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to shift back over to you, Dr. Noristani. Some of the questions that we got were about folks who have already had COVID. So if someone's already had COVID, why should they get vaccinated if they believe that they have all of their immunity?
That's a great question. And I guess a lot of people who had it, including my brother-in-law, asked me the other day, I'm immune, what's the difference, right? So now we are seeing a lot of cases of people who had COVID and they're getting a secondary infection, or they getting infected with COVID. The problem is that, when they did analyze thousands of these patients to see how strong your immunity is compared to vaccination, and the amount was significantly lower. Now, one thing we don't know, the amount of body response to the virus, or the amount of antibody, right? They take a chunk of it and say how much of it, how will your body's positioned to fight the virus. And that was a lot lower compared to those people who got vaccinated. We don't know, the problem is we don't know the exact duration at which your body is able to sustain that antibody against that virus. So when you're naturally infected. So we know for sure that people who get vaccinated have longer period of time that their body is able to fight the virus. So recommendation from CDC and based on our experience in the past year or so since the pandemic hit, is that the answer is absolutely. You gotta get your vaccination. Now they're also talking about giving an immune booster down the road. So now the new trials going from that maybe through time in a year or two, your body might require a third dose, or a second dose, depending which one, that to boost your immunity. We know there are different strains of viruses, right? You got the UK, the Japan, the India, South Africa, Brazil, the tons of them. Now, your body may not protect you from those variants as well. So there's a lot of reason why you should get it. And longer immunity is one of them, different strain will be the other one.
Let's just talk about that for a moment longer, because I think what's happening right now is people are learning, what are these strains? What does that mean? Where did they come from? And so is it that COVID is mutating based on somebody's body, for example. And so I just want to kind of reiterate, if you could talk a little bit about that and then sort of tie that again back to why the vaccine is going to play a critical role in combating against those.
So mutation usually happen when virus is rampant in a society, no matter where it is. The more people the virus is infected, the higher chance of mutagenicity. Okay, so for example, the flu vaccination, right? I mean, the flu virus continuously changing its pattern of how it infect people, and that hence every year the new vaccine covers the one from the year before because mutation happened through that. Coronavirus is no different. There's so many variants right now. Some of them are extremely more dangerous, or more people are more susceptible, and transmission from person to person is a lot higher, like the one in India or UK, the one in South Africa, or the one in Japan and Brazil. So we are seeing actually in California, there's already different mutation that happens. So the beauty of some of these the vaccines are now is shown that they're very effective against different strain of this virus as well. So, I mean, it's just virus and that's how it survived, right? They're trying to evade, they're trying to protect itself from, getting killed, just like every other creature in the world. So, from that standpoint alone, as I said, I reemphasize, you got to get your vaccine because it does provide protection against different variants.
That's fantastic. Thank you for answering that question. I'm going to pass it back over to you, Dr. Furking. Some folks have asked if they have been vaccinated, can they still get COVID?
Yeah, that's a common question I hear in clinic too. The long story short, it's exceedingly rare, but it is possible. It's called a breakthrough infection. So there have been reports of breakthrough infections. Again, that's something that's still being studied as to why that happens in some people and not in other people. So that's being looked at right now. However, we do know that they're, again, exceedingly rare. And the vaccines, again, as Dr. Norstani was saying, are providing people very good protection, even against some of these variants that are certainly more concerning. So while it is a possibility, has been documented, it's very, very rare. And again, it's that weighing of your risks and benefits. The benefit of being vaccinated far outweighs the risk of some of these, being infected with some of these variants. The extent to which people get ill with COVID after being vaccinated also is being studied too. So that's something that we still don't know much about. But again, it's very, very rare. The other point I'd like to make too is that you being vaccinated, the other real benefit to doing that, especially in our community here, is that while you're getting obviously quite a bit of protection, you're also protecting the rest of the community as well. So we certainly want to make sure that that we protect those, especially those that are very vulnerable in our community with a lot of underlying health conditions. You're doing a great service to the community by getting vaccinated as well. So that's the other piece to consider.
And you talked a bit about severity, but from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that severity can decrease. So even if you're vaccinated and you get COVID again, often if you get it, not again, but even if you're getting it for the first time, the severity is much lower than if you would have gotten it without being vaccinated.
Yeah, correct. Again, that's what we're seeing, and that's what they're looking at a little bit more. Again, with the various variants that are circulating as well, that complicates things. And so we do know the vaccinations are definitely helping in that respect too. What I've seen in the community and being part of the vaccination clinic at the Dick DeWee Center earlier a few months ago, I have seen people get their vaccine who have been infected multiple times. And so even 3 months apart, I think in some cases I saw people get infected. And so, certainly people get concerned about breakthrough infections, especially folks who have been unfortunately infected multiple times. And so, even with a breakthrough infection, again, which are exceedingly rare, there has been some documented evidence that it may not have been as severe potentially as they had with their prior infections before.
Great. The next question I love, because life can get in the way. People are busy. We have obligations. And now we're starting, to do soccer, or not soccer, doing softball or baseball, And so I could see this happening, which is that someone's had their first shot, but they've missed their second shot. What should they do?
I would say don't panic. There is a grace period. And so again, this is something I ran into quite a bit actually in the vaccination site at the Dick DeWee Center here in town. So there is some leeway to getting your vaccination. So about 4 days prior to your due date for your vaccination, actually, you can get it a little bit early, and actually up to about 6 weeks later, you could still get it as well. So I really wouldn't, delay your vaccine 6 weeks, but if you have to, for whatever reason, there is that grace period of up to 6 weeks.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. So one of the other questions we received is that now that I'm vaccinated, do I have to wear a mask?
Yes and no. So in general, you can be without a mask in most situations. Again, this is kind of what I was talking about too, with the benefit of being vaccinated. There are some situations where the CDC is still recommending mask wearing, even if you are fully vaccinated. Typically, those are situations when you're indoors, very close to people, can't socially distance, more high risk environments. However, if you're outdoors, if you want to visit family members, the recommendation is that you do not necessarily have to be wearing a mask.
Great. So yes and no, case by case, instance by instance. I get that.
And the other thing to add to that too, sorry to interrupt, is everybody's going to have different comfort levels. Again, we've been in this pandemic over a year, and people are going to be ready at their own pace. So nobody should feel bothered by wearing a mask if they feel like they should. In fact, I encourage people to, even if they are fully vaccinated, wear the mask if you feel like you need to. Use your common sense, but just know you do have a little bit more leeway to not wear it. But if you feel like you should, please go ahead.
So let's talk a little bit about those little white CDC cards that people get when they are vaccinated. What if someone loses their card? Do you know what they should do?
Yeah, so first of all, talk to your physician about it. Sometimes we're able to get you a new card, basically, so your primary care doc can do that for you. The Public Health Department website would be another good location to check out for more information on that too. I have had folks that get basically multiple cards and then they condense it into another one later on. The other thing I've told folks is when you do get your shot, maybe take a picture of that card. Keep it on your phone, make a copy of it. I almost treat it kind of like you would your passport in a way. Make a copy of it, keep it around. So that's what I typically tell folks.
Great. So what do you think of lamination? Someone was curious, should I laminate my card? They want to keep it in their wallet forever. What do you think?
Yeah, I typically told folks during the vaccination clinic to maybe not laminate it, just in case we do need to put on there about a booster shot or something like that a little later on. But definitely keep it safe. Like I said, I typically recommend maybe taking a picture of it or make a photocopy of it or something like that. I'm sure there's products out there. In fact, I've seen them that are nice little vaccination pamphlets, plastic covers you can use, things like that without fully laminating it. But yeah, that's another option too, I guess I've seen.
Great. And have you heard, folks need their card to travel? I know I've also recently heard that you might need your vaccine card to get into local venues or concerts or events. I think some of the concern in the community is about the government and what they might be doing with this personal information after someone gets vaccinated. So really, what's the purpose of having a vaccination card?
Well, the purpose really is obviously for documentation, right? We want to know as your medical home, we want to know that you're covered and document how. The other thing is for safety. We want to know if you do get ill, when did you get that vaccine, how long ago, and which vaccine was it? Obviously, this is in regards to other vaccines as well. So I know it's still a topic of quite a bit of discussion. as far as what you're going to be required to show. For example, if you choose to travel, especially traveling internationally, that's going to be a whole other topic of discussion, and would, again, most likely be decided on a country by country basis. But yeah, the vaccine really is to let you, your healthcare provider, know your vaccination status.
Great. So it's definitely something of critical importance, and something that could be empowering to help you get back to normalcy, potentially to give you access to things like travel or other things. We'll see as that rolls out. So we have about 4 minutes until we need to transition. And so I want to come back to you, Dr. Noristani, and see if there's anything additional you'd like to share, something that you want to tell the audience about the vaccine.
All right. So, there's a lot of questions, which vaccine should I take? And the answer is whichever one is available, the soonest possible. Obviously, given the fact that, now we have more availability of different type of vaccine, so it becomes a personal choice. There's tons of information, which one is the right one for you. But as I said, just remember, vaccines their main goal is to stop you from getting super sick and dying. The success rate is over 95%, with Johnson actually almost 100%, that prevent death and hospitalization. So keep that in mind. Whichever vaccine is available, please take. But the most important thing, the one thing I'm going to tell you, that I'm just getting heartbroken, and I don't, just kind of mentally and physically tired, and not disappointed, sad to see so many people losing their life. Every day I saw somebody struggled and somebody died. And this is not people in older age of 80, 90. These are, I'm talking about younger people too, at 35, 40, 45. So COVID doesn't see anymore the age and predisposing factor. Everybody and anybody is a fair game for the virus. So please protect yourself. And even if you are against getting vaccination, think about people you love. Think about, especially now, because one of the things we said that people want to not wear mask anymore outside. But think about it. You might not get infected because you're vaccinated, but think about everybody else in your family, whether it's your kids, whether your mom or your grandparents. If they're not vaccinated now, you're definitely putting their life in danger as well. So please be safe. Wearing a mask is not a big deal, but you are saving life, not your life, your family life, but also your community. So please keep safe, get your vaccine, and hopefully I don't see you in the hospital.
Thank you, Dr. Noristani. And Dr. Fricking, I'll pass it over to you for one final word.
Yeah, again, I would echo Dr. Noristani's comments that, if this is our community, we care about it. We care about the people here. So getting your vaccine helps protect the rest of the community. You're doing a great service to the community, to the state, to the country by getting vaccinated. Please be smart out there. Get the vaccine. They're safe. They're effective. I always tell patients about my personal story getting my vaccine, how I felt. I'm always happy to talk to people about that and let them know what to expect. I tell them I would give it to my family. I would give it to my daughter if I could right now. I highly encourage people to get it and help us get back to enjoying the community here like we used to.
Great. Thank you both so much. What a robust discussion. Your expertise is so appreciated. We want to thank the doctors again for your time and expertise on this panel. And now I think we're going to try to transition back to video. So I'm going to pass it over to my team in the background so we can have a community member share their story with us. So please play the video.
Hi, my name is Luis Servin. I'm a Lompoc resident, has been a Lompoc resident since 1994. I grew up here in Lompoc. I live here with my wife, my 3 kids, parents, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. I got my vaccine about 2 months ago, the Moderna vaccine. Besides a little bit of soreness of the arm and a slight fever, I had no side effects. The reason for me to take the vaccine, I feel that as a husband, as a son, I had the responsibility to take care of myself. We know what this virus can do, and I did not want to take the chance of getting sick or getting somebody else sick. I have a very large family. We before COVID, we will get together every weekend, and for over a year, we stay away from each other to keep each other safe. And we all decided to get vaccinated because we were ready to go back to seeing each other and enjoying each other's company.
So this evening, you've heard from multiple medical experts and local community members about why they got vaccinated and why the vaccine is safe, and how you can protect yourself, your community, and your family by getting vaccinated. When you leave the Zoom meeting tonight, you will land on the Lompoc Valley Medical Center forum webpage that will link you to the link that was shared in the chat earlier. This webpage has resources on how to get information about the vaccines, where to get the vaccine, how to sign up for the vaccine, and more. And as a previous speaker said, another great resource is the Santa Barbara County Public Health Department's website as well. And there's an opportunity to get the Moderna vaccine tomorrow. That's tomorrow, June 4th. It's a 2-hour vaccine clinic, 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. If you recall, the Community Action Commission is now called Communify, and their offices are located at 120 West Walnut, across from El Camino School campus. So again, that's tomorrow from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. at 120 West Walnut. And of course, if you don't want Moderna, you can coordinate your vaccine preference with your appointment. Most locations are advertising ahead of time what vaccine they are administering. Of course, this is a free vaccine for anyone. You do not need to have insurance or proof of citizenship. And as Dr. Donna Renoso mentioned, if all of this wasn't enough motivation to even consider getting vaccinated, the governor has also announced that those who are vaccinated have a chance to win $1.5 million. Just Google Vax for the win to find out more. And not quite 1.5 million, but 25 people tonight who have attended this Zoom or Facebook Live will be entered to win a $25 gift card. Again, that's 25 people that are going to be receiving a $25 gift card to a local Lompoc business. You'll be notified via email or social media if you've won. I think we're now going to bring up a final slide. And I'll start to thank Dr. Donna Renoso, Dr. Noristani, Dr. Furking, and a huge thanks to our amazing team of collaborators, the Lompoc Valley Medical Center, Santa Barbara County Health Linkages Promotores Network, Herencia Indígena, AAUW Lompoc Vandenberg Branch, and our funder, Together Towards Health, for providing the funding to bring this program to the community tonight. Be safe, be healthy, and good night.